सो हेलो एवरीवन, I'm audible? क्या आप मेरी आवाज़ बिल्कुल सुन सकते हैं? So just let me know here in the chat window. So if I'm audible, let me know. All right. Yes. Okay, great. So I can see here around 21 22 people. We have a list of 40. Okay, so why people are not joining in the between? Okay, fine. So first of all, tell me, have you revised video 1 and 2? Video 1 and 2 of Kubernetes cluster. So whatever we have discussed in the video 1 and video 2, how many times you have watched? Either 1 or 2 times. Okay, so just tell me how many times you have revised those video. One time or so or something. So just answer here in the chat window, how many of you have revised that video, because it is completely going to be dependent on that thing, that for rhythm 1 and practiced. Okay, so if you really want to explore Kubernetes in and out, right, as if post this session I'll be doing the needful. So that means let me ask some questions, and the question is, are you guys are aware about Kubernetes master node component? Master node component, specifically this Kube API server, right? And node controller, Kube scheduler, and etcd. So 1 2 3 4, these are the master node component, and we are calling them control plane. We have couple of more like replication controller, so again just for my satisfaction, okay, say yes or no. I mean, it is very important if you want to understand the Kubernetes way, how exactly it is working. So you have to tell me, I mean, how confident you are about only the functionalities, right? Specifically Kube API server or node controller or scheduler or etcd or something. Okay, yes. Okay, that I'll discuss today. Harsh, how does Kube ADM is different from Minikube? Okay, that is really wonderful. All right. So anyway, quiz we are going to take in the very last. So now I'm gonna take the deployment of pod again. Okay, so we do understand pod, right? So let me tell you how exactly we are going to access it. So now I'm again going to deploy my pod. Fine. So if I am Kubernetes administrator, it's me. You can assume this. What I need to have first, Docker image. By using this Docker image, I need to create a pod file, okay, where I'll define this Docker image information. Okay, now I'm in my client machine, right? From here I have to send a request to Kubernetes master node. Okay, so this is my Kubernetes master node that is running either locally or remotely, it doesn't matter, right? For right now it doesn't matter. So you are a client, and the client software we have is kubectl. By using this software, this client software, you are going to run that file. Okay, now when you want to deploy your Kubernetes this pod file in Kubernetes master node, or you want to deploy in Kubernetes, not in master node actually, so the first request will be received by API server. That means you have to understand it very well. If you are the guy and you are using kubectl, so this kubectl command can directly connect to kube API server for any purpose. So that means, let's say if I'm using my PowerShell and I'm using my kubectl get nodes. So is my kubectl is not here, kubectl, okay, kubectl get nodes, yes. So if I'm sending this, that means I am connecting to Kubernetes master to that node here, okay, and it is giving me the list of running nodes that is exactly running here. Once it is receiving it, let's say we have minions here, okay, so these are Kubernetes minions, minion 1 and minion 2. Now each master and minion, they are connected by some networking. Okay, in general we know that minion 1 and minion 2. So if you are sending a request to Kube API server, that means whatever we are doing with kubectl command, it is by default connecting to Kube API server. Okay, so if I'll write a pod file in my desktop, and here I'll be just going to summer 2020. Okay, so what I'll do, let me write a pod file in my folder Kubernetes, and here I'm writing a file, notepad. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm first using API version v1, then kind pod and metadata name Ashutoshh pod 1, specification containers hyphen image, let's say nginx, name Ashutoshh container 1. Now you don't need unique name of container, because there's no meaning of container in the word of Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes understand there is nothing like container, so we all can give the same name of container. There is nothing to worry, right? So even if we are connecting to same Kubernetes cluster, so we can give the same name to Kubernetes pod and the container. Okay, this is the main minimum file, and I'm just writing it like, where is my desktop, summer 2020 Kubernetes. So I'm giving like Ashutoshh pod 1.yml. Okay, Ashutoshh pod 1.yml, and that's it. Fine. So if I'm going to deploy this file like this, ls kubectl create -f Kubernetes Ashutoshh pod 1.yml. Wow, it got created. I can see by kubectl get pods. See, it is in container creating state. I can just write -watch option, because first of all it will download that nginx image, right? And then we can put it in watch mode. See, now the container is up and running, so I can check that. All right, so now you have to understand how it is happening, right? Because see, we're just writing pod file and we're creating it, and boom, everything is up and running. So when you send a request to Kubernetes master by kubectl command, the request is accepted by kube API server. Now kube API server cannot take decision to deploy your pod in any of the minion node. Okay, so what it will do, it will pass this request to a new component. We call it kube scheduler. Okay, now kube scheduler will try to find the right minion node on behalf of XYZ factor. So that XYZ factor will be discussing what exactly things check by kube scheduler. So that means it will check most free CPU, RAM, number of less containers, and many more information. So kube scheduler will find the most healthy worker node, and it will send a request after deciding. Now here in this minion, if you remember, there is another daemon is running. We are calling it kubelet, right? Now kubelet is the father, or it's a papa of every node. So every node has kubelet. Whosoever want to communicate with any of the node, they have to go through kubelet. So kubelet will accept that request if it is valid, and now it will pass to Docker engine running in the minion. Okay, so after kubelet will accept that request, it will pass to Docker engine. Now Docker will create container, and rest kubelet will assign resources and many more things what we see the pod is doing. Okay, so in a top level, what you can understand is, let me change that color. So the exact thing is happening like this. So as a client, you created pod file in your local system, then you hit that command, the one that I've just showed you, this one, kubectl create -f and the name of yml. When you hit like this, step number 1, it is connecting to API server. Step number 2, passing it to kube scheduler. Kube scheduler will find the right worker node for you. When it got selected, it will send the request to here, that is number 3. Here kubelet is running, that will accept your connection, and it will pass to this minion node. Now by a couple of internal process, this pod is now running here. Okay, when the pod is up and running here, this kubelet will inform this information, will inform that yes, I got pod scheduled to kube API server. Now this is step number 4. Now kube API server will write this information in database, so that even if this node goes down, we will have all information. What it will write, what was the name of pod, which Docker image it got had, in which many node it is scheduling, how much resources it is consuming. Every single thing will be stored in etcd, all info about pod. And after that we are having that message up and running. Okay, so before you get this, everything is happening. Okay, now someday I'll show you this flow diagram by implementing it. This is not the right time, but yes, someday I'll show you. So first of all, let me know in the chat window by messaging, are you understanding the same or not? Yes or no? That will come in picture, Harsh. So we have not discussed apply yet. Let's let the time come. Okay, so guys, reply very much fast here, and it's a humble request from my side. Please make a note of it, right? Because you know what, the Kubernetes internal working architecture, you won't find good videos on YouTube or anywhere, right? We have a lot of things to come in pipeline. Okay, so exactly this is how your pod got scheduled in the right worker node. Okay, now the thing is, one more habit you have to maintain. So I'm just saving this diagram in case you want it in near future in summer 20 Kubernetes, how pod schedules. Okay, so you have to take this, and you know what, the best way to attract a hiring manager or HR or any companies, so what you can do, update about this Kubernetes what you have learned in LinkedIn and Twitter. Okay, LinkedIn and Twitter. So you need to write a post, and what you learn, you can upload a picture of your copy or something. It is the best way to you get attracted or get some attraction from hiring manager or some companies who are just looking for. Because see, you have to post it for 20 non-stop days, because I have I make my mind to take 20 days non-stop session on Kubernetes. Will learn a lot. So 20 days, every day you have to post in LinkedIn and Twitter by making a step what you have learned in Kubernetes, and will give you a lot of assignments, right? So this Friday or Saturday you will get a lot of assignments. Okay, anyway, so now, so if you remember that Kubernetes thing, anybody can tell me, anybody, to who will assign IP address to pod, or you can understand how pod will get IP address. Because see, your application is running in pod. Now IP address will have by pod itself. So if you want to access your application, you need to connect pod IP. Okay, so to connect pod IP, we need to understand who will assign IP address to pod, which Kubernetes component. Just write your answer in the comment section. I can understand that. Yes, so I got one answer, waiting for more. I'm not saying correct or incorrect, so write the complete name, rhythm. So okay. Any other? Everybody, are you guys are copying to each other? No, it's not the right habit. See, and how many of you have seen the video? Let me tell you, that means almost none of you, right? None of you have seen the video. You know what the reason is? It's not kube proxy. If you remember that thing, I don't know, none of you have seen the video. Let me tell you. Okay, so in the Kubernetes section 1, I've told you one thing. If yes, Calico, Yukta is now giving the right answer. If you remember the Kubernetes section 1 session, so I told you, now we are not going to use Docker Zero Bridge, because Docker Zero Bridge will give the same IP. Okay, so instead of it, by all minion and master will be connected to a common networking, and that common networking will be for your pods. Okay, so I told you, instead of Docker networking, Kubernetes has so many solutions like Flannel, like Calico, like Wave, like Cisco ACI. So they will design this bridge. So wherever your pod got scheduled, either in the master or minion, so this bridge that is designed by any of the technology, it will assign IP address to the pod. So the answer that you have to give is Calico or Flannel, whatever networking plugin you have deployed during Kubernetes cluster creation. Now the problem is, in Minikube, everything automatically deployed, so you never get a chance to understand what networking plugin came in picture. So see, now you watch the video again, video number 1, first video, and don't do such thing, right? मतलब ऐसा है कि चूतिया काट रहे हो आप अपना. See, if I'll go to videos and here, yes, कहाँ आएगा? Fine. So etcd sorry, see, and the same bridge is connecting to this Docker engine. Now अगर मैं यहाँ पे WaveNet and so many, so any of the, थोड़ी से शर्म करो, क्या करना, ऐसे पाम सामने रखना, उस पर थूक लेना और सामने सुखा के डूब जाना उस पर, राइट? सबने बोला है कि लाइक यू आर वॉचिंग वीडियो एंड ऑल, but actually you are not, right? So, and it's for everyone. So simply what you have to do is, you have to read or watch the video again and again. When I'm saying, see, simple thing is, do you really want to be pro in Kubernetes? I mean, pro means pro. If you do want to be a pro, पहले बात तो ये अपना चूतिया काटना बंद करो, राइट? ऑलमोस्ट किसी के भी आंसर सही नहीं थे, और ये वीडियो मैंने इसलिए आपको दिखाया कि यहाँ पे ये बात डिस्कस की थी कि डॉकर नेटवर्किंग इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू बी इन पिक्चर. ओके, एग्री और नॉट, मतलब अपना काटना नहीं है, प्रो होना है तो वीडियो को देखना शुरू करो, राइट? So if you understand it now, any of the networking component, either Flannel, Calico or Wave or ACI, whatever, जो भी आपने deploy किया होगा Kubernetes cluster के time पे, that will assign the IP address to the pod. Okay, so please watch it again. When I'm saying आपको सारे कंपोनेंट पता है, मतलब पता है. अब let me tell you why maximum people are giving kube proxy answer is just because of repetition. सब लोगों ने वही आंसर दिया. So let me tell you what is the use of kube proxy. Now see, here is pod 1 and let's say here is pod 2. For example, this is pod 1 by Ashutoshh, this is pod 1 by Harsh. Okay, pod 2 by Harsh. Now if you don't want that the pod can communicate in between, so that means either you want the pod 1 or 2 can communicate to each other, or let's say pod 3 is there created by Rhythm, so there are 3 pods, 1 2 3. A pod 4 is there created by Piyush. Okay, so which pod can communicate to which another pod in across the different worker node? This decision is taken by kube proxy. So kube proxy will give you the permission, either the pod 1 can connect to pod 2 or pod 2 can connect to pod 3. So it's internal networking between pod, networking rules between pod is taken care by kube proxy. So are you getting this kube proxy now? Please, you know what, क्या करो, सारे कंपोनेंट को कॉपी पे लिख के उनका फंक्शनिंग लिख लो. You need to write all the component of Kubernetes master and worker side, और उनको लिख के रोज, जैसे हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ते हैं ना कभी कभी बचपन में, लाइकवाइज सारे कंपोनेंट लिखो, उनका अंडरस्टैंडिंग एक बनना चाहिए. देन आस्क मी इफ यू आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग इट वेल. ओके, से yes or no if you are agree, I mean if you are understanding my point कि आपको कैसे पढ़ना है, सारे कंपोनेंट के नाम लिखें. और सेकेंड थिंग, you all are understanding the use of kube proxy. Fine. So kube proxy is also fine, and how you should. Okay, wonderful. So it means, see, the total point is you have to work like a hell, work every day, every night. Kubernetes is something like you should, make a bucket list where the most hottest crush of your own is Kubernetes, only Kubernetes, right? Wonderful. So now whosoever, I mean whatever networking plugin you defined, how I can check what is my IP address of my pod. So what I need to do is I need to just put -o and wide option. If I'll do that, you will be getting the IP address of pod, and you'll be getting the name of that node, that is where your pod got scheduled. Although in Minikube we have only one node, otherwise in real Kubernetes cluster you will be getting the IP address of that worker node where exactly your pod got scheduled. Okay, so I'll be showing you over there that in Kubernetes worker node it will be showing that IP address. So pod IP, since how long it is running, it restarted never, running status 1 out of 1. Okay, so it's very simple. Now what is the best practice to write a pod? Okay, we are moving it very slowly, so make sure you are getting everything right. So the best practice to write a pod file. Okay, so in my Kubernetes where I have this pod file, okay, what I'll do, always prefer ports keyword. it's a good choice. And here container port is 80. Okay, container port is, so that means same as, this will be same as expose port in Docker file. So that means it's the best practice, always mention the ports keyword, then in this is an array, container port has P capital, and this is your 80 port. Make sure you're not writing anything else. So let's say if this image designed by you by Docker file, so you have to write the same port number that you defined in Docker file under export port. Okay, I hope you all are remembering, I mean you are able to connect those dots, that yes, expose keyword you remember. This is Docker image. Okay, so it's a best practice to do that. Now what I'll do, I can just try to check this. See, so if I do kubectl get pods, in general the container is running, pod with the same name is running. If I try to recreate, so let me go to Kubernetes folder, and if I do kubectl create -f and the pod name, right? So it is saying if you do create again, the pod is already exist, so you cannot create the pod with the same name. But there's another option, we are calling it apply. Okay, if you do apply, it will try to create pod if it is not present, but it can also do something, it can try to update your pod if possible. So let me give a difference between create and apply. Okay, create will always create new, and apply will check first. Okay, and then create. If it is already running, already there, it will not try to create. If it is not present, then it will create. Apply can also do some update. So let's say you want to update this line. See, earlier it was not there, you want to update this line. So it can update, but pod can create cannot. But there's a tag written, update can be done by apply, but there is a star, and that star is if possible, right? So that means if the update is possible. See, you cannot inspect a real-time port number on a running pod. That means you cannot inspect the port number now in a running pod. It's not possible, right? First of all, let me tell you, if I'm commenting it, just to give an example, if I'm doing docker run itd -name container1 nginx, and now I'm hitting enter, container got created. After this, can you do docker run -p container nginx? Can you assign this port number, some port number, to container here after creation? So if you created the same container and now you want to inspect this line again, can you do that? Just give me answer, yes or no. So be quick in the chat window. So can you do that in Docker? Just don't talk about Kubernetes as of now. So if you created the container already, right? So I'm getting few answers, and please don't copy answer, right? What you think you have to give. Okay, that's why I have written here if possible. So like Docker cannot update port number after getting created. So likewise same for pod, because pod is actually running the container in between, in behind the scene. So if possible, so there are certain things that you can update, so that's why I'm writing if possible. Now say yes in the chat window if you are understanding the difference between create and apply. So now type yes. I cannot see messages by everyone, only few no answer are here. I don't know why people are not giving, but now just say yes or no in the chat window is if you understand the difference between create and apply. Okay, so definitely we can yes Rhythm, that I'll give it, that I'll give what are the possible things. Okay, so definitely we cannot update container port, that's why error in the here we got the same. See, if we got it, kubectl warning apply should be resource this. Now specification pod update may not be change field other than container specification and image, so we cannot change. Okay, so definitely we cannot change. So see, if I try to use anything that is not allowed, so I'll tell you what we can change, but as of now this is an error or warning, not exactly error, it's a warning, we cannot change. Fine. So what I have to do is I have to get the list of pod again. All the way you can also write PO as a short form, and I'm going to delete yes Atej, we can do if possible then. So we can delete the pod first, kubectl delete pod and the pod name. So it got deleted. Just wait. And now if I recreate it, kubectl create -f Ashutoshh pod 1, this time it will not take time because the image is already there, so it will be in a running state very soon. Okay, so it is now running, because see, we have only one node, that is minikube, and that is master also, so your pod will be running over there. Okay, now this one. Okay, so one more thing, if let's say this pod got created by someone else, okay, it's not created by me, for example, so how I can check this pod is having what port number, what is the name of container, and what is the worker node, what image it is using. So if I want this detailed information in case of something like when somebody else created this pod, but I want to get more information about this, like image name, container, and many more things, So rather than using get, you can use describe and pods and the pod name. Fine. So pod and pod name. So if I hit enter, see, let me scroll it up. I don't know how bad PowerShell is. I really hate PowerShell. Okay, let me just check cmd. Oh my god, so small. What the hell? Okay, kubectl get pods. Okay, access denied. Very good. Anyway, so if you hit this command describe pod and you go up little bit, you'll get this image name is nginx and this is running, the port number is 80, since what time it got started, and many more. Right, I'll do that. Maybe I think I have git bash, so, but I don't know. kubectl get pods. Yes, wow, fuck it now. Okay, now I have the get bash, so I can use this get pods, and I believe I can use this. So what I can do is I can now, get bash is awesome, kubectl describe pods and the pod name less. See, so from here the pod name is this, the minikube IP is this. Now the IP address of the pod, the name of the container, and this nginx image it got pulled, and a lot of big information that you can understand, and you can check yes, it got created. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, so get bash is cool. It has a bash shell, and that we can use. Anyway, so I hope you are understanding this describe command as well. Okay, so now one more thing, and that is very important again. So I hope you are understanding describe also, just to give a detailed information about how to write pod file without remembering it. Because definitely, see, in the Kubernetes we are going to use around 1,000 kind of things, so sometimes it's not that much cool. I cannot remember, like although I am remembering everything because I have used it more than 1,000 times, but is API version having V capital, the version is V1, pod has P caps, and it has containers, image. How I can remember all those keywords? So you can always take a help from Kubernetes command line. You can use kubectl explain command. Okay, and let's say I want to know about pods. Okay, so if I do kubectl explain and the pods, if I hit enter, let me make it bigger, and let me just take it from the top. This means I'll read from the line number 1. Okay, see, so it has kind, pod with p caps, version with v1, and what are the fields we have? So we have API version, and here v is capital. We have kind, we have metadata, and we have specification. There is one more that is not of use right now, that is spec, but a pod file is consist of API version, kind, metadata, and spec. And let's see, if you want to check what is the value of API version, so what you can do is you can dot API version. Once you hit enter, you will get the version v1. And let's say you want to check the kind, so pods dot kind, you'll get it pod with p caps. You want to get like a specification dot spec. See, now the spec has so many fields. It has active, deadline second, affinity. The one that we are looking for is containers. Okay, so if you just compare it, let me just show history here, compare with the notepad file, you can always have described information. See, so I just explained for pod, I get it version 1, then I want API version thing that is also written inside, you don't have to remember, and I get the version, then I get kind and specification. Now specification has a lot of keyword like containers. See, specification has a lot of keyword like containers, so these, but I am interested in containers, so what I can do is dot containers. So this is a kind of help, so we can have command keyword, we can have env, many more, but the one we are using is image and name and ports. Now ports is having this one, container ports, so I can also write dot ports. See, it has container port, it has host IP, host port, and many more information. Okay, so this is the best way to take help offline in Kubernetes. And you know what, this is the key concept or key thing in Kubernetes if you want to appear for certification like CKA and CKAD. These are the world best, or I can say outstanding certification ever, right? So certified Kubernetes administrator and certified Kubernetes application developer, you can crack it by some tips like that. So give me yes or no if you are getting the offline help, how you can take from Kubernetes by explain command. Okay, so if you are understanding it very well, say yes, ha, okay, hanji, whatever you prefer in the chat window. Okay, and it's really very cool method to remember all those keywords. I mean, taking help is always awesome, right? Now I'm gonna give you another method, right? That is really awesome, but the point is still you have to remember that indentation. I mean, when I have to write this hyphen thing, when I have to write this hyphen container port, and the problem with the indentation. So if you are really afraid of writing this YML file, that means literally you have to work a lot. Don't afraid, first of all, right? Don't afraid at all. Okay, so I'm going to give you one super sexy method. It's a super sexy method where you don't have to write the file. Okay, now it's time for super sexy method, and that is auto generate pod file. So you don't have to write, you can generate it. And how you can do that? See, so if you remember, I compared this pod with that we don't require, right? So as we discussed, I compared with compose with pod file. Okay, just to understand, right? We are using YML here, we are using YML here as well, but I told you they are not similar. It was just for understanding, right? But What was before compose? That was docker command. So whatever you can do with compose, that was actually you can do by command. Okay, likewise what we can do is we can use kubectl command to generate that pod file. Okay, so we'll talk about that rhythm. Yes, we have. So the pod file. Okay, now how I generate this pod file? See, so I'll use kubectl and run. Okay, kubectl and run. Let's say I want to create Ashutoshh pod 2. Now you can give here -- image is equals to, let's say, nginx. Okay, and then -- port 80. If you want to generate it, you can put -- dry run. Dry run means it will not create the pod, it will just check. And I want to generate output in YAML format. O stand for output. If I hit enter, whoa, sorry. Okay, now it will be generated, but it depends what Kubernetes version you have, kubectl version you have. So my kubectl version is very old, so I have to supply here restart policy never. Okay, so as of now, let me just take it again. So I'm doing kubectl, then -- image nginx, then -- restart never. Okay, if you hit enter, actually it will create a pod. See, if I hit enter, it is creating a pod. Right, see, it is now creating a pod. So without writing YML file, we are going to create a pod. So it will take some time. Yes, it got created. Now don't ask me what is restart policy. As of now, you will be understanding on time. So there होता ना कि सब चीज़ का समय आएगा. Likewise, so when we'll have time, it will. But let's say I really don't want to create it, so I can use -- dry run. Okay, let me give different name. So dry run will just check the syntax, but it will not create. I can show you here, it will not create. And then I want to have output in YML format. Now see the magic. Boom. Whoa. See, version 1, pod, metadata. Just forget about these shitty information as of now. And name, specification, container, name, nginx. This is something extra that you can ignore. Okay, and on time you will be, at a time you will be understanding what is this information. And now you can redirect it to wow.yml. Yes, see, so it got wow.yml. Yes, so you like it? Say cool or awesome in the chat window. So this is the right way of generating a pod file, and this is storing pod file in a YML. Okay, fine. So I'll be giving you the insights what exactly that command is doing, but so right, so you don't have to worry about how to generate, how to write pod. Now once it got generated, you can just kubectl create -f and wow.yml. Boom, it got created. Kubectl get pods. Right, see, the third one is in creating state. Right, so this is history. You have to re-watch the video again, and it's really awesome to awesome method to generate pod file automatically. About this never start option, see, as of now, one more thing, there is no container port option, so you can also use hyphen port option here to introduce container ports. See, okay, so it got fixed. Likewise, we have so many options. Okay, Harsh, no, I think kubectl is the best client. Rest you can use your Python programming, your Golang or anything. So kubectl is the best, but you can use your Python, your Golang or your Java language to use client, but there is no better option than kubectl, and it's really awesome. Although anyway, so kubectl is also written in Golang, but no worries. Alright, so it's awesome, and it's done for today. So I really want you all to practice, explore, understand, and do this post what you learned today on your LinkedIn and Twitter. This is mandatory for everyone. Just make a good post, tag me, and have fun. Okay, so I have to go for a walk anyway, but fine. So if you understand all this, tomorrow's session will be very important, right? So let's have a quiz now. Okay, so Kubernetes the hard way, and let's see how many people are scoring well. So do it fast, only 13 people are here. Now it's okay. So I can see 20 people. Make it fast, guys. So within 30 seconds I'll be starting the game. So 1 2 3, and now 10 more seconds. Fine, so let's start. We have enough number of people. Okay, and wonderful, good job. 21 correct answers. Still some people are sleeping, they are giving wrong answer. Anyway, it's wonderful. Great. Still people are confused, I don't know why. Client is cubectl, definitely. Okay, might be out of syllabus. So this question is out of syllabus, but anyway, try to answer. Let's see the luck. Okay, बुरा लगा. Okay. Again out of syllabus, but you can guess. It's more luck, guys. You can try your luck here. Oh my god, 14 correct. You are lucky. Okay. Yeah, that can be good. Whoa, 8. See, only cube mini is the right answer, but I don't know why it is. This is coming. You can guess it. kubectl get ns will give you. Or maybe you have problem with background music, you can close your ear. Put the headphone away. List of namespace and see. Now next, a kind of very judgy answer. Can you scale a pod kind in Kubernetes? See, only two options are there, either true or false. Kid again came in the picture, and let's see. You can also guess that. 5 answers only. What the hell? First option. So this is the last question because the rest questions are very dangerous. So whosoever giving the right answer, it's all fine. They will be top 5 people. Okay, great. So you can see your ranking. So these are the top 5 people, and thank you so much for today's session, guys. Because I think it's not a good idea to have others. Okay, so have fun. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Okay, so thank you so much and bye. We'll have the rest. I'll break it into another quiz. So it's a kind of very random break. Okay, good. So have fun. I'm closing this stream now.